Hello, Home Slices. It's Kiera with Home Slice Adulting, coming to you with, I guess, a mini review of the Iyanla Fix My Life episode for this new season. The season opener was Shay Johnson's family. Um, I haven't seen you all, haven't posted a video in a long time now. Life just kind of happened. I don't know if you all are able to see, but I have a new background because I'm in a new space. We purchased the house a few months ago, and that has occupied a lot of our time over the summer. Also, I'm engaged, so we are wedding planning. And what else is going on? I'm in my final year of my MBA program at the University of Washington, and for whatever reason, going to school remotely is has really interesting benefits and then some drawbacks too. So, emotional energy at the end of the day is like at an all-time low. So I haven't been posting regularly, but now that Iyanla Fix My Life is on, for whatever reason, I just love the show so much that it's one of those things that makes me get out of my funk of not posting videos on YouTube. So thanks so much for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And my hope is that I will be able to routinely and consistently review the show. Okay, so here's the deal. Shay Johnson, I have known of her ever since Flavor of Love came out, the first season. Is that right? First or second? I can't remember if she was on the first or second season. Okay. I don't know why I'm just now realizing I have some confusion about that. But anyways, she was on Flavor of Love. She was on Charm School. She was, on Love and Hip Hop Miami most recently, and also Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, I think. So she has made a career of hopping from one reality show to another, which is fine, it's not my career path, but she's made something of it. She has last I saw on Love and Hip Hop Miami for the first season, I think I reviewed that season, but I didn't watch any seasons after that. Love and Hip Hop just kind of fell off my radar as I entered my late 20s. And now I'm 30, y'all. I had a birthday about 2 weeks ago, so that's fun. But anyways, the point is, Shay Johnson has had issues. If you've ever seen her on any of those shows, she comes across as confrontational. She had a big fight. Apparently, she was dating, was it Pleasure P from Pretty Ricky, and they would consistently get into arguments and stuff like that. So she has never come off as a well-adjusted or calm individual, but she is a businesswoman, and there are things to like and admire about her, and there are things that she needs to work on. So apparently she wrote to Iyanla, and I watched this about 2 days ago. I watched it on Sunday, so my memory may be a little fuzzy, but we'll just go off what I can remember. I believe she wrote to Iyanla because she's never really had a good relationship with her family, which includes her mother and two brothers. One of them's name is MJ. The other is Dr. Joey. And couldn't figure out why they were emphasizing Dr. Joey until later. But yeah, she has two really nice looking brothers. Her mom is a beautiful woman as well. So they're like a really good looking family. But it just goes to show people look great on the outside and will be horrible on the inside. And so Shay comes across as the volatile sister. MJ comes across as the reclusive brother. And Joey comes across as the determined brother. And the mom comes across as just a single mother who was out here trying to get it any way she could and really didn't have time or the capacity or the knowledge to give her children what they needed emotionally. And that's something that I deal with as well. I love my mother, and I know that it was a struggle for her for a bunch of years before she got married to my former stepdad, for her to be the provider to 4 children. And when you are struggling to provide for your household, the emotional well-being and the emotional capacity that you have at the end of the day really is just so little, and it's just so small. And so there are some areas of my life where I wish I had a little bit more emotional guidance. But I know my mom did the best that she could with what she had. And so I totally understand this family. But I don't identify with Shay in particular. Oh, excuse me. If anything, I actually might identify with Dr. Joey a little bit more, who apparently focused so much on his career and apparently education, since he is a doctor, so that he could be a good provider and not live in the hood anymore, and has also apparently neglected his duty as an emotional guardian, for his wife and for his children. So now that I think about it, Dr. Joey and I are the most alike. So one of the things that I like to do whenever I'm reviewing the show is like find ways to identify with these people and figure out what I can glean for my own life. So anyways, so we have Shay's mom, whose name escapes me right now. I can't think of her name, but Shay's mom feels very clueless about the fact that all of her children have issues with her, and that she knows she has issues with Shay, and that she's been having issues with Shay since she's in middle school. And I find from my personal observations, that parents usually have the most trouble with the kids who are most like them. And so Shay is volatile, and it kind of came across that her mom was similar when they were younger. So they've had issues for a very long time. But her two sons, who Shay claims that, her mom doted on, also had issues with their mom, but really never told her. And I think that that's really interesting, because it's hard to tell the person that you love and you care about and who raised you and who birthed you, or who was your parent or guardian. It's really hard to tell them something negative if your experience is that they go off, or that they would consider it disrespectful. So like for me, when I was growing up, I felt like everything, like it was there was only one way to talk to adults, and that's to have this sheepish curiosity. You couldn't have any attitude in your voice, no real, inflections and stuff like that. Like I couldn't. Like any deviation from a certain tone, a certain number of inflections in your voice, there was no high-pitched stuff, there was no smacking of teeth, there was no, basically you couldn't have an opinion. That's the way I feel, right? That's the way I feel about my experience, just personally. So as I grew up to be an adult, it took me a long time to be able to speak to my mother about negative things that were happening in our relationship or in my life, because it just felt like, even as an adult, even as a person who paid their own bills, as a person who was not living under my mother's roof, there's still this thought in your head of being a little kid and hoping that whatever you say or whatever you do or whatever your attitude is doesn't come across as disrespectful. And it's really hard to get that out of your mind. So I totally understand why they had never told their mother that they had issues with her. And so Iyanla brings her in. They both say they have issues, and then they take the mom out. And the mom has a little moment of, what did I do wrong, basically. And so they do something similar with Shay. When Iyanla sits down with Shay early in the show, she tells Shay, "You're rude." There was another word too, like you're rude and disrespectful, I think. And Shay didn't really like that. And again, Shay Shay felt like people were ganging up on her, which is really a defense mechanism. And Iyanla mentioned that earlier about how Shay's behavior is a way to get people to back up off of her. And that's what she's been doing for years. And it's obvious from watching her on reality television that that is something that she does. So, the conversation with Iyanla could have gone better, but it gets much worse when Iyanla brings Shay in. And, oh, let's talk about the mirror real quick. It was very interesting that they are looking in a funhouse mirror and they are seeing this distorted version of themselves, but they make up in their mind that they're going to see past the distortion and see what they want to see. And so her mother and Shay both had this kind of denial, and we saw it manifest when their mom was in denial that the two sons had issues with her, and Shay was in denial that she is perceived as rude and disrespectful. And so Shay is not supposed to say anything in response to them saying that she's rude and disrespectful, but of course she says something anyway. So she's disrespecting the process, disrespecting Iyanla. And Iyanla is like, let them tell you about how they experience you. You don't get to determine what happens in this process. You will have your chance to speak your piece, just not right now. You need to absorb the fact that both Iyanla, the two brothers that you grew up with, and your mama called you rude and disrespectful. And, you know, when a lot of people say something about you, you know, it's probably true, you know. But she couldn't accept that. And she was not ready, and essentially, you know, did not honor her commitment to the process and staying through it, and having moments where she didn't like Iyanla and having moments where she didn't like the process. And she ended up running away, and they had exchanged a lot of words. And I don't want people ganging up on me. I don't want to look like a fool. Iyanla says, you already look like a fool because you're not honoring your word. Iyanla was over it, okay? And I don't know what it was in particular that Shay said to get Iyanla so upset to the point where, like, don't come back. But that's what happened. And I will say that I thought it was wonderful, a wonderful model, and really interesting that when Shay finally came back to the process, Iyanla told Shay, I'm going to let your brother facilitate this conversation because you have lost the privilege of talking to me after the way you ran out of here a couple days ago. So I'm going to let your brother do this because you can't talk to me. And I thought that was a great way for her to model to the other family members that when Shay gets out of line, you need to purposefully disconnect from her in a way that lets her know what your standards are. You can't treat me this way. I will not allow you to treat me this way. And I think that Shay kind of didn't know what to do in that moment. She didn't go off. Or I was expecting Shay to go off, but I think that she was so thrown off by the fact that somebody decided not to be in communication with her and to disconnect from her because of the way she treated them, that she just didn't know what to do. And that kind of threw her off guard. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about too long about her mom calling her a demon and denying it. The women in the family have a big problem with denial. But anyways, there were a lot of good moments. I think that Iyanla got through to the mom. I think Iyanla got through to the brothers. And I think that Shay was the person who was the most in need of the process. And I think that she did a lot of work, even with Joey's wife, to kind of help them start over. And the thing about Joey and his wife is something that I really, really fear personally. I really hate gender roles. Like, I really dislike them, particularly because they are old-fashioned and out of date, and that at the time when they were created, the world was very different. And so if I don't have a job, and the way I contribute to my family is to be a homemaker, that's one thing. But I have a job and I'm in school. So I can't be a homemaker and be a student and be a full-time employee. So that's something that I really want men who are in relationships with women who are working to understand. You can't expect me to go to work, to help pay the bills, and do all of the housework. It's too much. You need to pitch in. So I think that because Dr. Joey's dedication to his work and his self-worth being wrapped up in his success at work, that he has neglected his family, he's neglected his wife, and she feels like she's doing everything while he's figuring out how to be successful at work, and the bricks kept falling on her, and it was really telling. I don't know. The one thing I will say is that Dr. Joey opened up with his brother, and I felt like he opened up with his mom, but he felt less, it was like he seemed less opened up with his wife, just personally. I don't know. That's just a vibe that I got. Y'all let me know if y'all got the same vibe. But anyways, what else? I think Iyanla did a good job with what she had, and I think that 3 people were open to the process and 1 wasn't. And I'm really curious about how things work out for their family. Hopefully they're staying in touch more often. And I will say MJ had issues with self-worth. It came across as, you know, Joey got all the attention for being a good athlete and I guess for having good grades and stuff like that. Shay got all the negative attention, and then MJ was kind of left out. And he struggles with feeling worthy. And I just feel I have a similar experience to that too. Maybe not totally, because my life was a little bit different from that. But there are moments where I think about my childhood and feeling like because I was the oldest and the most independent and the most self-sufficient, that my parents didn't worry about me as much and actually put more responsibility on me than I wanted. And so the attention that I got was rare. So yeah, so I identify with that as well. But I'm hoping that this process helps him to reevaluate his self-worth. He's a beautiful man, beautiful looking man, has a great sense of style. So I'm hoping that this family really is able to work something out. But it was a really interesting episode, and I promise during the next review for Iyanla Fix My Life that I will actually have notes and go over things a little bit more thoroughly like I usually do. But this was just kind of off the cuff, and I wanted to make sure that I posted something, because again, Iyanla Fix My Life is just one of those shows that I just really love, because you can actually gain something from it. It's not just entertainment value, but there are pieces of things that Iyanla says, things that the guests say and that they experience, that you look at their lives and you figure out, you know, I identify with that. How can I help to eradicate that? Or what can I glean from this episode? So it's actually a little therapeutic and educational. Okay, personally, that's the way I take it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week for the next episode of Iyanla Fix My Life. Peace out, home slices.